The truth of the matter is that I am blackity black, black, black. I am proud to be blackity black, black, black. I want to see more blackity black, black, black people in these spaces, in these orgs, pioneering and spearheading the Dean's List, pioneering and spearheading these organizations, these student bodies. I am blackity black, 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 and this is my blackity black, black, black experience, and my blackity black, black, black skin is going to foster so much growth for me and so much growth for you. Ashley-Kaye, and welcome to or back to my channel as told by AK. Welcome to another video as part of my college series, my college videos that I bring to you regarding all things college life on a college campus, life as a college student. And today I am bringing to you a video discussing being a black student at APWI. So first things first, for those of you who do not know, I attend the University of Georgia in Athens, Georgia. This is a PWI, no doubt about it. This is in fact a predominantly white institution. And yeah, and if you can't tell, I am black. I am a black woman. And so before we begin, I just kind of want to give you maybe some stats about my university as well as some background as to like my college decision, my college choice, and just things surrounding that. So to begin with, the University of Georgia has approximately 40,000 students, so 37,000 and some change. So almost, hitting that 40,000 mark. So that is a large number of students. However, the amount of African American or black students on campus enrolled at the University of Georgia is only 8%. So we are the 8%. If you go to UGA, you will hear that we are the 8%, the elite 8, if you will. That being said, because it is 8% of that almost 40,000, that is still a large number of students. However, in comparison to the whole entire student body, we are only a fraction of the entire student population. So this video won't exactly entail my stats and like the exact step-by-step process to attending UGA. However, I kind of want to give you guys just a general idea of what led to my final decision to actually attend my PWI UGA. To give you guys a general idea of what ultimately led to my final decision, it was largely what benefited me academically as well as financially. So with my stats, I want to say that I got into a variety of universities, including HBCUs. And so largely my decision came down to what benefited me academically as well as financially. And it just so happened that with the HBCUs I got into, they didn't work in my favor as well financially as UGA ended up doing. So that's just the background as to my final decision to attend UGA. It was largely where the money was going. I'm chasing the money, and that was what my decision was. So that is the background on that. Now, I say this because some students watching this video may have attended a high school where it was more blended. You may have attended a high school that was more predominantly black, predominantly white, depending on where you live, depending on where you grow up, and obviously your school of attendance. So I say this to say, I attended a blended high school. I like to say that when I entered my high school in about 9th grade, I like to think that it was more white. However, by the time it was my senior year, I could definitely say that it was more blended. So that's something to keep in mind when I'm discussing my university, because if you are a student who went to maybe a predominantly black school who is now looking towards going to a PWI, that is going to be a large culture shock for you. And that's just something that you need to keep in mind when you are watching this video, as well as looking towards attending your university. If you're somebody that went to a predominantly white school, maybe that won't be such a big like culture shock for you, something totally different for you. For me, my school was pretty blended, so attending the University of Georgia wasn't really that big of a shift. However, it was a shift. So of course, like I said, the University of Georgia is 8% black. So that being said, when I was looking at my various colleges, as well as looking at the demographics of students attending those universities, me as a black student, as a black person, looking at demographics was a large part of my college choice as well. And just kind of reviewing those stats, was really important to me as far as like how comfortable I was going to be at my university. And so I'm not going to lie and sit here and say that I was like totally pumped, like, okay, there's 8% Black, like, yes, diversity. But that being said, when it came to attending UGA as well as other PWIs that I was accepted to, I was kind of thrown off in the slightest sense, in that I was concerned with the demographics of the school. As you can imagine, I was concerned with the students at the school. Like, am I as a Black student going to fare well at the school where that is only 8% Black? That's the reality of the matter, and that's the reality of the matter for many Black students as well as other students of color. So that being in mind, I was of course concerned with attending UGA as far as like the amount of Black students on campus. And so that in mind is when an organization on campus reached out to me, and as well as several other Black students and my friends now on campus. So Georgia Days is a minority program here on UGA's campus that actually is a minority recruitment program. So I feel as though several other PWIs may have something similar to this, and if your school doesn't, that's something that you want to definitely look at. But for the most part, a lot of PWIs do have minority recruitment programs such as Georgia Days, and Georgia Days does a great job at recruiting students of color, and they ended up being a large part of my decision to come to UGA. They had a Days Weekend event, which is actually where a lot of Black students could come onto campus and experience life as a Black student, in a way, experience other Black students. So they had us sleeping over actually with current Black students who attend UGA, and that was such a pivotal moment for me in my decision-making process, because not only did I see community that I was scared that I wasn't going to see, I saw Black professors, I saw Black deans, I saw Black executives, I saw Black orgs, I saw other Black high school students that were looking at coming to UGA and had the same misconceptions, the same fears that I did. And that was just a large part in my decision-making process, because at the other PWIs that I had went to, I didn't get that same feel. I felt family from those Black people, despite us only being the 8%. So this video is meant to give you an idea of what it is like being a Black student on a PWI's campus, being a Black student in a PWI's classroom, being a Black student alongside other white students, being a Black student who wants to join orgs, who wants to make the most of their college experience while being Black. And it's safe to say that your color of your skin is not something that we should just kind of like overlook. You need to see the color to accept the difficulties that come with it, and then learn how to move from that. So being a Black student at a PWI, while you do have that Black community, like I said earlier, UGA is only 8% Black. So something that quickly becomes aware to you after that first week of school, where y'all are all getting acquainted, and those first couple of days where classes haven't officially started. And once classes start and reality hits, and you are now walking on campus and going to classes by yourself, you begin to realize that you are a fish out of water, in that demographic, that 8% that you saw on paper, becomes very much so real to you. So walking around campus, you will see dots of people that look like you. You will see a large variety of white students, and you start to kind of see that when you're with your friends, when you're with for example like Booga, or your Black community on campus, when you are with people that look like you don't feel it until you are in a classroom setting, you are in an org setting, you are in a meeting, you are at the dining hall, that you see that you all are like this in a pool of this. And this is not to scare you, but I'm just giving you the reality of the situation, that being on campus, at a PWI's campus, you will see that you are the minority. Riding the bus, going to the bathroom, eating at the dining hall, going to football games, going to sporting events in general, going to major places where students congregate, you see that even with orgs, leaders of orgs, it's people that don't look like you. So that is something that you just have to keep in mind. You will definitely see a lot of students who do not look like you. It's not to frighten you, but that's just the reality of the matter. That same idea of not seeing students that look like you, for example, when you're entering a classroom, say you're entering a class with a large lecture hall, you're going to enter the classroom and it will immediately, for the most part, many times become immediately aware to you that you are entering a room with students that look different from you. I know that, for example, when I entered my agricultural communications class, a random class that I had to take, but I entered that class and literally I could count on my fingers how many Black kids there were in that class. And so immediately it's like you want to form allies with those Black kids and kind of just like feel them out as well. And so you enter that classroom, enter that space, and it really becomes aware to you that you are not on your own, but you are the one in a million here. You are the fish out of water here. And so for many Black students, such as myself, it comes down to a matter of now like structuring your classes to where you are in classes, like major classes with your friends. I know like in many of my STEM classes, I try to structure my classes such that for the most part, I have a friend or a group of friends in each class, such as chemistry, such as major classes that you need to do well, to succeed. And the fact of the matter is that in these major classes, and honestly in all classes, you need that support system. You need people that you can rely on, who will you can bounce ideas back and forth from. It was definitely kind of a shock for me because, like I said, my school was blended, so I was never just that one, and like now I was that one. Similarly, when it comes down to classes and orgs, for example, there is a feeling of having to validate your acceptance to UGA. And with things such as affirmative action and the different little aspects of college acceptance that may, to some people, work in favor of African American students, or some people may use against you to try to invalidate your acceptance into the PWI. I definitely will say that in some cases there is that feeling of having to validate your acceptance, having to validate your acceptance to an organization such as SGA. I did SGA my first year, and so there is that factor of trying to validate your worthiness to be in this organization. SGA is one of those organizations that is predominantly white because of the demographics of our school, and that's just the reality of the matter. And so there is a feeling of having to validate your acceptance to UGA, your acceptance to PWI. There is the feeling of having to strive extra hard to live up to that standard, live up to that idea that like I do belong here. And so it's not just a matter of affirmative action. It's not just a matter of them trying to fit a quota that I'm here. And that's what a lot of students who are attending PWIs have to keep in mind and have to realize. And that's something that I will explain to you every moment of every day. You deserve to be at that university. You deserve to be at that institution, and your stats got you in there. Your essay got you in there. What you did in high school, volunteering, research, like whatever it may be, got you in there. So you shouldn't ever have to feel like you have to go overboard, or that you are not worthy enough to be at that university, because you are, and that's why you are there. I know for me, a large part of my experience at PWI, especially as a Black woman, and honestly, just big ups to all my Black women attending PWIs, because the system is just very much so not skewed in our favor, being a woman as well as being Black. So big ups to you who are taking on, PWIs, who are pioneering, who are spearheading movements at your PWIs, who are spearheading academics at your PWIs. Big ups to you all, because you are doing the thing. So that being said, I definitely have felt that as a Black woman, I have to be extra careful to not fulfill the angry Black woman stereotype. Now, if you don't know what the angry Black woman stereotype is, that's just the general idea that most Black women are easily disgruntled, easily angered, easily just very, very ill-tempered, very, just angry, and that our anger is easily sparked. So that's just a general idea behind that. And so that is something that I definitely try to fight against when it comes to my attendance at the PWI. This has definitely been something that I've experienced attending a PWI, experience as a student who is a leader, who wants to join orgs, who was a part of several orgs, especially during my first semester of college, not fulfilling that angry Black woman stereotype. And that had caused me to, in many situations that had angered me, in many situations that rightfully did make me upset, I definitely had to be careful with how I navigated my responses to certain situations. This is not only at PWI, this is definitely just in general with the world. Me as a Black woman, having to be careful with how I navigate certain situations, having to be careful with how I navigate anger and disappointment, and in some ways limit or just honestly reword or just restructure how I respond to certain situations, because I didn't want to play into that stereotype. I didn't want to just give people what is expected of me, expected of Black women in general, what is stereotypically expected of us. So in some situations that did make me upset, I just had to kind of lessen the extent to which I expressed my, disagreement, which really sucks, because no one should ever have to feel as though their response is invalidated, but that is just the truth of the matter. And so, yeah, having to limit or kind of stifle how I felt in certain situations, especially just in that moment. Maybe later I, expressed it, but just in that moment, not being able to fully be upset. Here's the thing, because I say this, but I'm going to also say that you are here for a reason, and your stats brought you here for a reason, and who you are brought you here for a reason. And so we need more Black people in these positions. So therefore, while you want to, of course, navigate how you react to certain situations very differently, I will say that you do definitely need to put your best foot forward, because in those group assignments, for example, I was still drafting up what we're going to do. I was still like, okay, we're going to do this. I was still respectfully doing so, structuring my project, structuring my group assignments. So it is a matter of traversing situations carefully, as well as making sure that your voice is heard, because you're not going to be able to go through university, especially a PWI, just sitting back and falling back. And so it is still very much so important that you make your voice heard, and that in these situations, in these scenarios where you are in these group project type of things, is very much so important that you still make your voice heard, and make sure that you can kind of don't just sit back. So many of you are watching this video are definitely concerned with racial relations on campus at PWI, and the fact of the matter is, nobody is going to come up to your face and call you the N-word. For the most part, you're not going to see Klansmen marching around campus. You are not going to see what is generally thought of when it comes to racism, but racism is present in the effect of microaggressions. So we don't know what a microaggression is. A microaggression is essentially minute things that can almost go unnoticed, and sometimes they're even done unconsciously, but just little minute things that send a message without having to be just explicit and deliberate. So at PWIs, as a Black person, as a Black individual, you will experience a multitude of microaggressions being on campus, and it's important to kind of just acknowledge them and just kind of see how you navigate them. When it comes to public transportation, something that I experience, as well as my friends told me that they experienced, is that for example, riding the bus. So riding the bus, it's not going to be like where you Blacks have to sit in the back and whites have to sit in the front. That's not how it's going to be. But I will say certain things, we're all together on, in the bus, and, sometimes, there'll be a seat open right next to you. And so, a certain person may decide that they'd rather stand, than sitting next to you on the bus. And so I've experienced this, and a couple of people that I know on campus, Black students, have experienced that, where you're on a bus and somebody chooses not to sit next to you and rather stand when there's an open seat, and all the other seats are taken, and they can very much so sit there, but because of this or the other. They don't want to sit next to you. And so it's little microaggressions such as that you will pick up on and that may happen to you. Hopefully they don't, of course, but that will happen to you or people, around you that make you like, oh, wow, so it's like that, oh, wow, so that's really what we're doing here. I remember a couple of people that I knew, they actually went to a white frat party. They went to a frat party where they were actually kicked out of the frat party. They actually were approached, and at the party where other students were there, obviously maybe of a different color, or maybe they knew people there, so they were, allowed to be there. But some students that I know, a group of them went to this frat party, led by a white fraternity, and they were actually, sent out, of the party, of the venue. And so sometimes blatant things such as that happen, and it's like for no other reason that you are Black. And then majority of the time, it'll be little microaggressions that occur that you have to kind of see how you navigate. Something that was very important to me and that many of you all should look at in terms of the university that you attend is how student officials, student body officials, organization officials, deans, presidents respond to issues regarding Black students. We respond to issues regarding the Black experience, such as death, such as murder, such as, issues that plague the Black community, issues that affect Black students on campus, and whether it be physically, emotionally, mentally. How does your school even respond to them? How does your school respond to them? Does your school send out an email to students acknowledging the situation? Does your school make light of it? Does your school understand the severity of the situation? That's something that as a Black student attending PWI, you will experience that sometimes your university might not even acknowledge a situation that affects Black people. As a Black student attending these universities, seeing how your Black experience is treated is something that you will quickly become aware of, and you cannot ignore it. Something that's very comical to me, and has occurred with the people that I've met joining orgs and being a part of orgs, because that's something I advise you to do, especially as a Black student. Do not limit yourself to only your Black counterparts. Definitely do branch out and reach out. As far as organizations, do not only join Black organizations, definitely reach out and branch out. But what I've experienced being a Black student and being a part of these organizations is that in some respects, or even just being in a classroom, meeting people that don't look like me, is that in some respects, people trying to relate to my Blackness, trying to relate to me as a Black woman, I've definitely had moments where it's almost comical in the ways that people try to relate to you or try to express contently. It's just very comical. For example, being in these orgs, meeting people that talk to you, a lot of times, and it's generally comes people that don't look like you. You will experience people trying to speak to you in, AAVE, which is African American Vernacular, and it's just a lot of sisses, a lot of bras, a lot of slang usage, and it's just like I know how to English. I know how to speak regularly. I know how to talk. You don't have to refer to me or speak to me or discourse with me in a different in a slang. You don't have to speak to me or respond to me or even try to start conversation with me in an altered way from how you would most likely normally speak. So those experiences where people are going to try to match you or relate to you or carry on conversation with you in like a way that they feel like you're going to accept it or take it or understand it, and it's just very funny. It's very funny. And for another point, my final point, this is not a video to discuss the PWI versus HBCU debate, because the fact of the matter is there is no winning side. And I want y'all to know that, because you attending a PWI, you're going to have people, you're going to fight the good fight at least once a month regarding your decision to attend a PWI, regarding people trying to belittle you as a person, as an individual, for you as a Black person attending a PWI, them downing you as a Black person, downing your integrity, downing your Blackness. Your HBCU counterparts, people that look like you, downing you rather than supporting you. unlike them, where, you know, at HBCU, they definitely have that family aspect, and that's something that I definitely can say that I respect about HBCUs, and that I want to continue to foster at HBCUs, that family appeal, that family aspect, that feeling of entering a classroom and knowing that, you know, you're gonna have people that are going to look like you and advocate for you simply because you are Black. But it's like, instead of those same people kind of, you know, supporting you as a student that's attending APWI, and kind of supporting you, especially being that you are going to enter rooms where you're, you know, the one in a million, where you're going to enter rooms and it's going to be like you're carrying your entire demographic on your back. Instead of them supporting you in that way and kind of uplifting you as a student who's entering these classrooms where there's people that don't look like you, a lot of times they're going to down you. That's the sad truth, but those things do happen. Never doubt yourself. Never allow yourself to kind of feed into, you know, people that are, you know, trolling or making you feel bad for your college decision, because your college decision was made because it benefited you, and so stand by that. So that is all for this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos regarding my college experience, regarding my tips and advice. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you all in another video. Fire, 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 fire.